It was created in the early 80s by two great grandmasters of Kung Fu, of Shaolin Kung Fu. And between the two of them, they have more than 100 years experience in Kung Fu. Okay? One of them is Grandmaster Chi Kim Tong, the founder of the Chi Kim Tong Five Ancestors lineage. The other is Grandmaster Yap Cheng Hai, who is my father. The motivation for creating this is, is the out of the forms, or rather the martial arts that's in the Nei Kung. The original Nei Kung forms in Shaolin are based on two types of Kung Fu called Wu Ji Quan, right, which means the emptiness fist, and Lo Han Rui, which means soft Lo Han Kung Fu. These two forms, they had a lot of exercises and forms. Okay, Wu Ji Quan alone had something like 72 forms. Lo Han Rui had 108 forms. So it will be impossible for somebody, a layman, who doesn't stay in a monastery for at least 2 decades to learn these things. So the motivation was to take the best of the essence of these forms, which the two masters already knew, and combine it into a more condensed manner that is easy to learn, very important, and easy to practice. Okay? What do you mean by easy to practice? That means that the form shouldn't take you 10 minutes. Because if it takes you 10 minutes, then you always have the excuse, oh, I don't have time. But if you can only do the forms in 1 minute, 2 minutes, that excuse shouldn't happen. So what they did was took the essence of the 108 forms and the 72 forms and combined it into 36 forms. And these forms are short. They take no more than a minute and a minute and a half max to do it. Even if you do it slowly, it's only a minute per form. And these are organized into 36 forms and divided into 6 sets of each. Okay, so there's a 6, 6, 6, 6, so 6 of them. Okay, and they'll be designed in such a way is that they are not dependent on each other. So you can learn, but generally you learn this one set of 6 at a time. Okay, so you can start off with the second set and then do the fourth set and come back to the first set. It doesn't mean that you have to start off with the first set, you see. So that way you can jump in at any time. Okay, so that way it's easier to learn, and it's also easier to teach because an instructor could know just 6 forms and start teaching those 6 forms. He doesn't need to know all 36 forms, you see, right? And it was created to benefit the general public because this is for modern times. People don't have the time to learn and they don't have the time to practice, and I can't afford to spend, let's say, 10 years in a monastery. So this is created for the modern times. It takes you to learn one set of 6 forms, probably a total of 10 hours of teaching time. And normally that's broken up into a weekend. We have 5 hours and 5 hours, and that's sufficient time for you to learn 6 forms. Then the practice is up to you. We have a rule of thumb, and the rule of thumb is frequency beats intensity. Basically what it means is if you only do one of the 36, right, and it only takes you less than a minute to do one, or say a minute to do one, and you do only, say, maybe 10 of them every day, it's better to do 10, spend 10 minutes every day than to, say, spend 3 hours once a week. Okay, so that little bit every day will actually help you to improve. And why? Because this can be explained in normal physiology, right? Your body needs certain conditioning, your mind and your muscles, you see. So if you do it regularly every day, even though it's a bit, it gets programmed into your body. Your neuromuscular system gets familiar with the movements and it starts aligning your meridians and your channels and so on. Whereas if you do it once a week, yes, maybe after the 3 hours it gets aligned, then after that it goes all crooked again. So you lose the benefit of the practice. So it's always better to do it consistently. And all it takes is 10 minutes a day. If you can do more, you do more. But 10 minutes a day, if you do it consistently, you will begin to see the results. Okay. When people hear of Shaolin, they tend to think of Shaolin as only martial arts. But what they forget or what they don't know is Shaolin is actually an institution that teaches three arts altogether. Of course, there's martial arts, Kung Fu. Number two is Buddhism, or rather the philosophy of Buddhism. And three is traditional Chinese medicine. So Shaolin doesn't only teach Kung Fu, but it teaches all three. And at the higher levels, if you become a Shaolin monk, you need to learn all three, not just the Kung Fu, okay? So when they developed, that is exactly what Nei Gong is. You can consider Nei Gong as the PhD course in Shaolin. So like if you consider Shaolin like a university, you have your basic degree, then you have your master's degree, and then you have your PhD degree, right? So at the lower level, you may learn the physical parts of Kung Fu, okay? But as you progress up the ladder, you get more talented and you get selected, then you're taught the other arts as well. You get to learn about the philosophy, about meditation, and you also learn about traditional Chinese medicine. Now, traditional Chinese medicine is preventive rather than curative, right? The philosophy of Chinese medicine is to seek balance. So if you balance the energies in your body, the yin and the yang, that will prevent illness. As compared to Western medicine, which tends to fix things after they've gone wrong. Chinese medicine tends to prevent things from going wrong. So Nei Gong was a combination of martial arts, traditional Chinese medicine, right? The principles behind traditional Chinese medicine, and the Buddhist philosophy of how you can maintain health in a balanced way. And that is exactly what Nei Gong is. So in the traditional terms, there's no such thing as a term called Qigong. It has always been referred to as Nei Gong. And the Qigong part, which is the breathing exercises and the health-orientated part of the exercises, are always part of Nei Gong, but it combines the martial arts part. So you're not learning martial arts for fighting. But what you're doing is you're actually learning the movements of the martial arts and applying it to Qigong. Now, one of the reasons for that is because the movements in martial arts has been designed to use the externals to move the internals. So by striking a posture like this, you're actually stretching certain tendons, aligning certain meridians, and when your meridians are aligned and your postures is aligned, then your energy would flow, you see. That's why the movements are very important. They are not just arbitrary movements where you just wave your arms around, They are very precise movements. That's why the martial arts part come in. The other very important aspect of why you have the martial arts part is, if I strike a posture like this, and if my teacher or my fellow student can just move me with one finger, that means I haven't got things right. That means I haven't got my postures aligned, I haven't got my meridians aligned, and therefore my point here is very weak, and the other person can just move me with one finger. But if I stand like this, not tense, but very relaxed, and do my breathing, and the other person can't move me, that means I've got my Qigong, right? Or rather my Nei Gong right, you see. So the other aspect of why you need the martial arts part is to test or to evaluate or assess that what you're doing is correct. So without that testing, you can continue doing something wrong for a long time and it'll still be wrong. For your internals, for your, like Qigong to improve your Qi flow, your breathing and so on, it also provides stretching and toning, okay, because that's what the actions do. You're actually stretching and toning your muscles. As you know, in modern life, we don't exercise enough. You're in a chair most of the time in front of a computer or sitting on a couch watching TV, right? So by doing this, you actually stretch and tone those muscles which you don't normally use unless you actually actively go for exercise. That's one benefit, right? It stretches and tones your body. It also has the benefits of, as compared to other Qigong, I think that's one of the key benefits, is the moves itself, because they're based on martial arts, also has basic self-defense capability. So once you're good enough, you mastered the basics of the art, the movements itself can be used for self-defense. as I said, this was created in the early 80s, and my father started teaching it in the mid-80s. But he taught it mostly to non-martial arts people, okay? He is also a grandmaster in Feng Shui, so he had international following in Feng Shui, and he conducted seminars throughout the world, in Europe, in America, you know, even in South Africa. So whenever he taught his Feng Shui course, he also had an option for the students to learn the Neigong, the Yan Xiao Gong course, you see. So a lot of his students went for it, and in fact, some of them are still practicing. Okay, Yan Xiao Gong has been done or designed in such a way is that anybody can practice it. There's no age limit. You can start when you're young. So long as someone has the discipline and the initiative to follow, they can do it. Old people can do it. I mean, yes, this is something they can do. They may find difficulties in it because you get the stiffness there, but the movements are there. They're very gentle, right? So, number one, there's no age limits. And surprisingly enough, what we've found is Yan Xiao Gong itself is also useful for martial artists. By doing Yan Xiao Gong, they have improved their martial arts, they improved their structure and their internal integrity. So it actually helps them to improve their martial arts as well. So if you push against me, see, right? I'm not doing this. If I do this, I'll lose to you if I'm lighter than you. So what I'm doing is I'm just stretching my fingers and my tendons. So you push, no. See, right? I'm holding you just by doing that. And if you let go suddenly, see, I don't pop forward. But if I'm putting my weight on it, if you let go, I'm sorry, I go forward, you see. So this is the principle of Yan Xiao Gong. You're using the stretching of the tendons, we call it the strings, to hold. See? So if you push hard, see, I'm just there, right? Then I can let go. Right? So I'm just holding it, right? By stretching the fingers. So that is the principle. So when you comes in, I hold, right? And this is where I let go. You see, I'm using his force, I'm directing it that way. He's going that way, right? So I just have to nudge him. Okay, yeah. So that the other way is when I resist, I hold him first. Because I have to hold him, otherwise I will fly off, you see. So I stretch to hold him. Now, once I've held him, I let go this side, I cut, see? I'm cutting this down. Now, I can let go this one, or he follows me down, you see? So I can do this or whatever, right? The other way is, I can also cut here, right? So, stretch, now you see, here. So once I soften up, he also relaxes, you see. He no longer pushes me, so I don't have to push against him. I just have to angle my hand, you see. You can't push against me at that angle, you see. So here, and it goes down, right? The other way is stretch, same thing, relax, I come underneath. Now you see? Yeah. So these are the martial art applications from the form. You know, it's part of it already, okay? So it's there because, like I said, this is part of Shaolin. So it has the martial arts part, it has the internal exercise part, it has the health, and everything is there. And to me, that makes Yan Xiao Gong so special.